This is a hypothetical example of farms with ASF to see how smart farm data can be used for outbreak investigation. At a farm with 4,000 pigs, anorexia was observed in 4 sows scheduled to give birth in 5 days. 2 of them aborted, so the farmer reported this to the local animal health authority as a suspected ASF case. The ASF antigen was detected in specimens from 4 sows showing anorexia. The outbreak investigation team reported the following. 4 sows at the farrowing house on April 14 showed anorexia, and these were some of the 26 sows transferred from the pregnant house to the farrowing house on April 13 for delivery on April 20. The loss of appetite continued on the morning of the following day. Since high fever was observed, antipyretics were administered. Around 11 a.m., 2 of the sows had abortions. At 11 p.m., an asymptomatic individual died suddenly. Until the day after the report, there were no additional abortions or deaths in the farrowing house. The body temperatures of the 4 pigs that were given antipyretic drugs lowered to the normal range. Sows showing clinical symptoms, such as anorexia or death, were moved from a pen with 30 short stalls on the middle left side of pregnant house 10 to the delivery stalls on the right side of farrowing house 6. April 13, the day before the first clinical symptoms appeared. Pigs were driven outside the pregnant house and induced to enter the farrowing house. Among the 26 side-by-side stalls in the farrowing house, clinical symptoms were observed in the 3rd, 6th, 7th, 10th and 12th stalls from the entrance. Photos show the sows with anorexia on April 13th and that aborted on April 14th. Data on sows in farrowing house 6 using the production management program on a PC. Records of the 4 sows with anorexia and the 1 that died suddenly without symptoms are shown. These are the daily feed intake data for the 5 individuals with clinical symptoms. The feed intake of the 4 pigs with anorexia decreased sharply after moving from the pregnant house to the farrowing house on April 13. When the anorexia was first discovered, the farmer thought it might be because the feed was changed when they moved houses. In contrast, in the case of the sudden death, feed intake fluctuations are already observable in a graph over several days. Let's take a closer look at one record. On April 13 and 14 we can see that both the number of touches and the intake of the feed box decreased. This individual usually empties the crotch, but on April 13 he appears to have left a lot of feed. It also confirms the record of antipyretic analgesic administration on April 15. Through the outbreak investigation, other deaths which had occurred recently were recognized on the farm. In the farrowing house, a death occurred on April 6 in the stall adjacent to where the antigen was detected. A sow was found dead on April 10 in the pregnant house, 3 days before the transfer on April 13. Mortality records were checked for these sows. This section has presented an outbreak investigation using smart farm data on a pig farm with an ASF outbreak. Now we will examine an outbreak investigation on the farm where the ASF antigen was detected in finishing pigs. For slaughter release, blood was collected from 5 sows and 5 finishers, and the ASF antigen was detected in 1 finisher. According to the observations of the outbreak investigators at the farm on July 5, there were no clinical symptoms in finishing house to where the ASF antigen was detected. Rather, loss of vigor and mild coughing were observed in finishing house 1. The next day, July 6, neurological symptoms, foaming salivation around the mouth, nasal bleeding, fever, and death were observed. Finishing pigs in this pen were also identified as ASF antigen positive. These are the clinical symptoms in finishing house 1. In this pig pen, there were many individuals lying helplessly against each other. High fever was confirmed by measurement with a thermal imaging camera. A clear difference is shown in thermal imaging camera screens of other pig pens with active movement. 10 days ago, At the age of 105 days old, pigs in this pen were vaccinated against FMD in the growth house where they were staying. After that, at the age of 110 days, all the pigs in the same pig pen moved to the finishing house and stayed in the same pig pen. FMD vaccination record. At that time, the feed intake decreased from June 25 to June 27 in Pen 2 of Growth House 3, and then recovered. You can also see the movement of pigs from the growth to finishing houses. We have examined examples of ASF outbreak investigations using Smart Farm data. Thank you.